everybody, and welcome back to a video where we talk about my art, because it's been a bit, and I've drawn a bit, so we're here to talk about it. In the last episode, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember what is different. Like, I don't know what we changed, or more accurately, what we've drawn since then. But what I do know is that all of the new pictures I have in their own separate little spot right now. So we're here to go through all of this stuff, talk about the lore, talk about the different things on screen and all that. And by the end of this, we will be perfectly caught up to where we are right now. So with that being said, let's just look at the first one, right? Okay, so this is the very first picture I drew after a super long hiatus of drawing. There was a point in time where I took like a good bit off of drawing, and I'm trying to remember what the last picture was. Which was the last one? This was actually the last picture that we drew, the last picture that was inside of that video. So the other one, this one was the direct progression from that a little bit afterwards, where I had taken like a month or two off of drawing for no reason. But during this point in time, I was working on a lot of Beezy's lore, going in the background and changing all of the things about him and explaining why he does stuff and where he's at and that type of stuff. And with that came the cider incident, where for literally zero reason, for a little bit of time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna invest time into learning how apple cider works and how different versions of cider work so that I can implement that into Beezy's lore as his favorite drink. That's right, his favorite drink is different types of fruit cider, and that's what are in these pictures. And this was the one drawn directly after that. I loved the look of this like liminal house, and I really like the idea that like Beezy just kind of wanders around the place, you know? He's like a homeless person, basically. He does have a van, but he basically doesn't live anywhere. So I really like the idea of him just coming across like an abandoned house. And during the daytime, it's perfectly fine, you know, everything's shut off, no one's there. But the second that nighttime comes around, it starts to like get super red foggy, just like terrifying fog that has something to do with a spirit. And yes, a lot of these ideas that I have are just kind of spur of the moment. Oh, that's kind of cool. But the ones that are really, really, really good, I tend to stick around with, or keep around rather, and start messing with, because there's a lot of these little yokai or whatever, these little ghosts that show up that are just kind of throwaways. But then there's some that are like actual, like, I got a full page of lore behind them type shit. This was not one of those things. This was red fog look cool, and so, you know, basically nothing was done with that. But that's the cool part about doing this type of drawing and stuff, and being where I'm at in the drawing process. This is still so early on in the story of Beezy and the story of everything that's going on here, that all of this is just basically concept art, which means that I get the creative liberty of being like, well, I didn't like that, so I changed it. And that is so cool. And believe me, there is stuff I want to do with this character, and things I want to establish, and an actual story that I do want to tell. But as of right now, I'm at this point in time where I'm so behind the scenes that it's like okay for me to make some shit that I don't care about, or some shit that just isn't great. Which leads me to my next drawing, which is this. This is a Jackbox picture that I drew. Mid Jackbox. And fun fact, it's moving, and it's so cool. It only plays like for a second though, because I didn't get it looped for some reason. But very cool stuff. And I'm trying to think about the timeline of stuff, but I don't really know. I think this one is the next one in the timeline, because this was one where I was like, I want to do an impact frame. I want to learn how to do impact frames. So I did a bunch of research into it, and I did an impact frame of Beezy using a talisman on a ghoul, a goblin, a ghost, if you will. Which is why the ghost is very half-assed and very basic, because I just wanted to get the actual impact down and like the proper dissipation and all that type of stuff, and I think it came out really well. I really like that the back of the ghost has like little dust particles coming out, but the front doesn't. And I like the way that his eye came out too. That's really cool. Not just Beezy's, but also the little ghost too. And then, kind of in the same vein, we had this picture, which was drawn to do those motion shots that you see in anime. I was doing a lot of research on motion and proper motion in animation or in visuals and all that type of stuff. And I still kind of am working on it. but this was something that I did because I thought it was cool. I thought it would be neat to show basically what it looks like from the other perspective when you get ghost caught, right? So like at this point in time, Beezy has pretty much already killed this ghost, right? He slapped the talisman on him, he punched him, whatever he needed to do. And now we get this moment of like, oh, this is like the last thing that the ghost sees before it disappears into the talisman for presumably forever. And I just thought it looked really cool as well. And I liked having the shading going on. I wanted to do a black and white thing as well. Just a lot of trying stuff out. And that's what most of these drawings have been. It's just a big playground. A big mess around thing for me to mess with all the different visuals and figure out how to do things properly. And it has worked out really well for me, and I'm really happy with how it has gone. This was a gift that I did literally to test animation. I said I need to figure out how to do animation, and the best way to do that is to do a rudimentary stick figure animation drawing. And I still need to do more of these. I need to practice a lot, and I need to get better at animation because this is okay, but it's bad. And it definitely cannot be like this when Beezy is on screen, you know what I mean? But I am really happy with a couple things. I really like the motion that you get on the slam down. That is sick. The biggest problem I have with this is the shape of the head keeps morphing. Like, it's like moving around a shit ton. And that's not great. Even when it lands, you can see it like grow. And that's not cool. I don't like that. And I'm being a bit of a perfectionist with this stuff, but that's because I do want this to be awesome when it ends up coming out. This one was the next picture that I drew. I wanted to do a close-up shot of him setting up a camera, but he accidentally takes the picture while he's setting up the camera. So this is like an accident. You know, he's fucking around with a tripod, and he's like trying to set up a cool shot for him to take, but then he accidentally snaps it early, which gave me an excuse to capture that classic, like, in a camera motion where you see like the, you know, all the waves and shit. Every picture that we've shown off in this particular video has been to improve at drawing and as a whole, just as an entire thing. Because the entire point of this, like, drawing series is to show that improvement. And at a certain point, I was like, man, I really want to improve more. Because there was a point in time where I was just kind of drawing Beezy just like sitting around and stuff. But then I was like, oh, but I want these moments where he's doing action and where I'm capturing these moments of movement. And now I can do that. And that's the point of these types of pictures. And there's also other stuff that I scrapped that was like, you know, not shown in this video, but all the stuff that made it is really cool, which leads me to my next picture, this one, which is actually one of my favorite pictures I've drawn. This one is so sick. I love the motion, I love the actual perspective, the proper, like, camera placement above him and shit. And to be clear, let me be clear, I did use a reference for this picture. It was a reference of the pose, which was directly from Bomb Rush Cyberpunk's main picture. If you look at that, it's like the same pose, but that's because I wanted to have like a dynamic ass pose, and that was one of the only things I could find, so that's what I did. But besides being aided with a reference, I'm also really happy about everything else about this picture. I love the colors, I love the idea, I love the motion lines, and I love the little smoke clouds, because the whole thing here is like, Beezy is called into this town, and he's like, alright, I'm gonna go capture the ghost. But then the ghost is like, hey, you want a tour since you're new in town? And he's like, ah, fuck it. And now the ghost is showing him around the city while he uses his little talisman to create platforms that he's like jumping across. Because that's what this is. This isn't him flying or like shooting past like Spider-Man. He's creating little blocks underneath him with the talismans that he is stepping on and then like jumping off of. Because that is like the whole power that Beezy has. His power is like ultimate research. He knows too much, and because of this knowledge of a lot of things, he has the ability, I don't know why I said it like that. He has the ability to use talismans that can do a variety of different things. I mean, obviously there's limits, because I don't want this character to be too busto, but, you know, crazy stuff that he can do with these talismans involve healing himself. Like if, let's say he got a cut on his arm, just like do the little thing he needs to do, the ritual, and then wrap the talisman around his arm, and it automatically starts to heal. And stuff like that is like the limit of his power. It's not really too crazy, and he has to prepare ahead of time, but if he goes into a situation knowing that he has to jump on sky bricks. He can have sky brick talisman just on him in his back pocket or some shit, and then the second he needs it, he flips that shit out like a gambit card and then jumps off of the sky bricks, you know? And again, like I said in the last video, the way I'm describing this stuff is so juvenile and so stupid, but I promise when I actually do something with this, I won't be using this type of speech. It'll be a lot more actually professionally done, you know, and properly explained. But as of right now, I'm just fucking around because like I said, this is the concept phase. This is concept art, baby, which means I get to do whatever the fuck I want, including talking like a 12-year-old. Because that's part of the charm, right? That's part of the charm of these videos. I gotta be all stupid about it, even though this is like a very, very serious thing for me that I really like have put so much time and effort into behind the scenes. Because for those of you that have been following this in any shape, this has been going on for years. This like concept of Beezy has been going on, I think, since like 2018. Let me check real oldies real quick. Let me check. When was this created? This was 2022. This has been going on for 4 years. The concept of this character has been building and growing for 4 years. So I've been putting a lot of effort into this, and I know that it's taken a long time for us to do something, but I promise that we will. And the next thing that we're going to do is probably like a comic, let's be real, because at this point in time my animation isn't that great. I don't have a budget for shit, so I can't hire people to animate, which basically means all I can really do is make a comic, right? That's what I'm limited to right now. But I think that could be a good idea, just doing like little tiny Beezy comics where he's running around solving a case per comic or whatever. You know, I think it might be cool. And I say solving a case because this character does have an organization of sorts. They work on their own, they drive around the place in a van, and when people call them up to hunt a ghost, I almost said kill. You can't kill a dead guy. But when people call him up to hunt a ghost, he drives to that location, traveling across the country and all that, to go solve that case. And obviously there's other characters and stuff that we haven't shown off. There's a lot of stuff that I'm keeping from you guys that you don't get to know yet, but you know, a lot of the other stuff is just like necessary to explain why anything is happening in these pictures, so it's good still. Which leads me to this picture, which is literally him doing research with the other character that was in the previous video, by the way. If you saw that, you know who this is, but you do not get to know until then. Go watch that if you want to know. That's right, I'm holding you hostage. If you want information, you gotta get the information. We got a bargain, you know? It's a win-win. But this video was the this picture, I mean, was the final picture that I drew with my old drawing tablet. Rest in peace, she'll be gone to the ages, and she'll never be seen again. Because it was ass. It was a bad one. The only reason that we got rid of the drawing tablet is because we got a new drawing tablet. And this thing is fucking huge. This drawing tablet is massive. If anyone here has seen the birthday video, you've already seen me talk about this drawing tablet and talk about how cool it is and how it's like gonna help so much and how it's so cool. And this was the final drawing before getting this drawing tablet for my birthday. This one, I was pretty happy with this one regardless because like, I mean, come on, look at this. This is fucking hilarious. I love this idea so much because this is basically Beezy is not killing this thing on purpose. He's like keeping this ghost alive so that they can take pictures of it and see what happens when they take pictures of it. So he's literally just standing on it while it's like freaking out and thrashing underneath him. It's so funny. I love that idea so much. And I also like the idea that like when you take a picture of this like ghoul, it has almost a 3D like effect because the camera's not supposed to be seeing it. I like that a lot. And just the overall design of this ghoul and the way that they go about things I think is cool because this is like basically a rage monster, right? This is like an evil spirit that came from a hospital, hence the blue gown that you can barely see. But trust me, it's there. So basically this thing just kind of died in a hospital and it was really, really, really angry about it. so it became a little spirit that ran around the place, screaming and yelling and kicking things off of tables and knocking things over, and no one could see it really or do anything about it, but Beezy had to show up and fix it because things kept falling over and all that, and this was the culprit. But because this was like a weak one, instead of just, you know, killing it with a talisman, I don't know why I keep saying kill. You can't kill a ghost, alright? You put him in a thing. But instead of capturing it right away, he's doing field research with his good pal that I will not drop the name of unless you go watch the other video, so ha! And I just like the concept of the little guy. Look at him freaking out. Look at him down there. He's so funny. And now moving on to the actual drawing tablet. Basically, when I switched over to this drawing tablet, it was a little bit of a learning curve. It was a bit weird at first. So, to compensate for that, after a little bit of doodling, I did this picture, which was basically Beezy possessed, which means that I can get away with having his pose be awkward and weird, right? So, so that's the explanation for why he's standing like this and all that stuff. Basically, I was learning with the drawing tablet, and it was a little bit hard to get used to, because after drawing for so long on like a little tiny tablet without having a screen and not being able to look at the screen of the tablet and having to look up, it's so weird to then swap to something where you have to look down and you have to draw on the little screen down there and you can't look at the other screen or it goes bad. Like, it's so weird. But the difference is there and the difference is clear. It's a lot better. I mean, it's a little bit rough because this is the first one that I drew with this new drawing tablet. There's a couple things you can see that definitely went wrong, but overall I think it went really well. And I really like the idea of it. I like that Beezy's possessed. He's upset about it. You know, you can see the little like drop of worry even though he's smiling. And I like that. I like that a lot. It's a funny concept. I say that because of something that I can't say that's from the other video. But you know, it's funny still. Then the next video, I keep saying video. Oh my God, why do I say the wrong things? And the next picture we drew was this one. I wanted to do a test with a big coat. Big coat Beezy. BCB, right? And I also wanted to do a couple tests with like different lighting and changing the lighting color depending on the distance from the camera. I thought that would be kind of cool, and that's why his arm is a lot lighter than his like actual torso area. But I also just like the concept of this image a lot. This is basically Beezy wandering a snow forest for hours and hours and hours searching for this thing, and he's upset about it. He's very upset about wandering around this forest aimlessly and finding nothing. But then he finally comes across said spirit that he has to hunt, and he's just really mad at that point. So this is that picture of him being mad at the thing that you can't see on off camera. And I like it a lot. I'm happy with this one. I really like the way the baseball bat came out. It's so much easier to draw a baseball bat on a little tablet instead of having it be on a fucking screen that you can't see and you have to guess, and it's so much better. And speaking of things being better, it's also way easier to draw the little ghouls, the little ghosts that I've been drawing, which leads me to this picture, which is a little bit of a test for the ghouls, but also a little bit of a test for my background skills with the new tablet. I wanted to try a couple things. I also wanted to try Beezy just like in a turtleneck sweater, so it's a little bit different. You know, things have changed, but I think overall I really like the concept here. I like the way everything turned out a lot, and I like the concept of these little ghouls. The little ghouls in this particular instance are like bound souls, like a couple that died in a car crash or something, so they are like sharing colors with each other, and they're always stuck around each other, and they just kind of float around with each other doing whatever. And I really like the concept of these things because they really take on like the idea of a ghost, you know? Which sounds stupid when I say it, but I mean like a lot of the things that Beezy deals with are like creepypastas, you know? They're more so like a monster than they are a ghost, but in the lore, in the canon, they are still a ghost, you know? Like the one in, I think the first video, he's chasing down a mannequin, and the mannequin is like running around the streets asking people questions, and that's like the monster, which is one of my favorite monsters I've ever created, by the way. It's like just an inconvenience monster that just runs around the place, and it's like just a mannequin, so You know, like he goes in line at a coffee shop and people don't really notice at first, but then he gets to the counter and he goes to order and it's like a fucking mannequin with a drawn face on its face, and the guy behind the counter is like freaking out and everyone loses their shit, and its whole purpose is just to cause chaos. So it like walks up to you while you're walking down the road, taps you on the shoulder, and it's like, do you know where the nearest grocery store is? And you lose your shit because it's a mannequin, but that's just what it does. That's its whole point. And I love that concept so much. I need to do something else with it because it's so cool. But stuff like that, like these ghosts are another one of those where I'm gonna keep this concept around, and not necessarily like the whole twin spirit thing. That's whatever, because these are just like basic ghosts. These are what the ghouls look like in my universe. In this world, the little ghosts become little animals and stuff, regardless of who died, I think, because I just like to draw that way. Because it's a lot more fun to draw a ghost when they're not just like a person ghost, because people ghost is lame. And also, people ghost has been done before 50 gajillion times in a row, so my ghosts are not like that. And part of it is to be creative, but also part of it is just because I like to draw this type of stuff, and I think it looks cool. And a lot of this stuff is, oh, I think it looks cool. But then there is also lore around it and reasons why it makes sense, but it also looks cool. Which leads me to the next picture, which is also, damn, that looks cool. This is Beezy being called out to an old-timey village that's like still living monk style, and basically the village elder of this village is a dead guy. It's a ghost, right? So the little turtle guy that you're seeing is a ghost, but he's the village elder, and the reason that he's the village elder is because he's been around for so long that he knows all the information, because he's a ghost that had the ability to stay still, because he has like unfinished business or whatever. So he's still there leading the village, even though basically he should be dead already, and he's lived for like 1,000 years. And they send Beezy out to kill the spaghetti monster, and the spaghetti monster is not spaghetti. Again, juvenile speak, alright? I'm saying this stuff in the stupidest way, but I promise it's cool, alright? This is a little monster that sends out hair-like tendrils that float up into the air, and they're a little bit thicker than hair are, obviously, because you wouldn't be able to see them if they weren't. But basically, this monster is a giant mass of little tentacle things that come out of the ground, and while you're on a hike, if you step on one of those things or you fall over and graze one, that shit wraps around you like a lasso and starts to pull you towards the earth. So whether or not it pulls you through, or whether or not it just like pulls through your arm and cuts it off, there's a lot of different possibilities, but basically it's bad and it's not good and it hurts and it's not okay for this village. So that's why they're sending Beezy out, and he's got his little pack, and they gave him like a flower crown because he's going to solve the problem, and they had a little celebration. Like, there's a lot of like story building here, even though it's just a picture. And I think that's why I want to do these videos as well, because I like to explain this type of stuff and I like to show this off. And I think this is why a comic would be so cool, because if I had the comic going on this, it would be like, oh, you know, he goes to the village, they give him the flower crown, he like goes up the mountain, he fights the thing, and he like struggles and barely wins type thing. Like the setup is already there for like an entire comic arc, but instead it's all just a picture, because that's what we're doing right now, concept art phase, you know what I mean? But that's what I love about this, and I love explaining this stuff, and you know, a lot of this stuff is all just experiments. Even this one was an experiment to try out the new tablet and see if I can do better like 3D visuals and actual depth to the character, which is why his ponytail is a lot more like in depth, and it's at a specific angle to where you see like the part in the three-way spikes that he has usually. And I don't even know if that makes any sense, but basically I wanted to fuck with perspective, and all this stuff is me experimenting a little bit and coming up with new concepts, and I'm so happy with this one. This one is awesome. Which leads me to the final picture that I drew, which for lore purposes, this is not a cigarette. It's not. It's the other thing, which I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, right? I can say weed on YouTube. I can in that instance, because I was talking about the type of weed that grows outside and you have to cut. YouTube, I'm watching you. But yeah, Beezy doesn't smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes bad. Do not smoke cigarettes ever. Don't smoke anything. Don't listen to me. I'm a YouTube man. Why are you listening to me? Listen to me about my art, but don't listen to me about anything else. But yeah, this was a picture that I wanted to do because it has been a while since I drew a picture of them just chilling out. And I was like, you know what? I want to rope it back around. And I want to test some fog. And after, messing around a bit and experimenting, this is what we landed on. And I like it. I think I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm also very happy with the shadows in the fog, because I always gotta sneak something in. Even when you think there's nothing, there's something, alright? So, during this one, the something is the little ghouls in the background, the little shadow people in the fog. But yeah, with that being said, this is the final picture that I drew, so this is where we wrap up this video for now. I'm gonna draw more pictures, and then when we get to that point, we will share them on another video like this. Part 4 of the art series is what it will be, and I'm gonna continue to make these things until this ends up being to the point where I can't make these things without giving away actual plot. So, basically, hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe and all that shit. If you want to follow this art journey, it's good to keep me around so that you can see this stuff when it does come out, because this will definitely get lost in the algorithm otherwise. And it'll probably never get in the algorithm to begin with. So if you're seeing this, consider yourself lucky. This is a type of video that YouTube does not support nowadays. Not only am I not doing crazy edits, but I'm also just kind of talking about pictures, and I'm not really being, like, the funniest, Which basically means I'm screwed. But if you watched this far, thank you. Like and subscribe, it helps out a ton. Go check out Patreon for free, where I will be posting these early as of this point in time, which means that anytime I get a picture done, that shit is going up on Patreon for free. You can see it for free. I'm not gonna make you pay to see my pictures. That would be fucked. But go check that shit out. Go check it out, along with movie reviews that aren't fucked over by YouTube's copyright system and making it all black and white and stuff. So thank you for anyone who does that. Anyone who's already doing that is on screen right now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you again for watching and going this far into it, especially because you're watching an outro, which nobody does anymore. So thank you. Thank you for being patient, and thank you for watching this whole video and hearing me out, even though I'm literally just a dude talking about art on the internet. That's, like, super nice. I love it. So, I'm gonna end the video for real now. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good day, and bye-bye.